Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. I would like to ask you a question today that I think most business owners never seriously sit down and contemplate and answer. Here's the question: Who is most likely to put you out of business? Who is most likely to put you out of business? I don't necessarily think this is a very fun question, but I think it's a really, really important one. And I think that if you can't answer this very clearly, that's going to be a problem for you. So today, I want to talk around this question. I want to give you a framework for thinking this through. And I'm going to make it real as I can possibly make it. And I want to make it specific for those of you that are entrepreneurs, maybe running a business or a real estate influence business, or maybe leading a team, a sales team or a marketing team or whatever it may be. So let's start here. When most people think about their competition, they think about the person down the street, maybe doing the same thing that they're doing, maybe running the same model, they're in the same market, they've got the same approach. That person or that company, though, is not the one who's going to put you out of business. The competitor you need to worry about doesn't look like you. They don't operate like you. They're not thinking like you. They're approaching your market from a very, very different angle. They are approaching it with likely a different cost structure or a different value proposition, or maybe a totally different use of technology. And while you're focused on what's in front of you, you're quietly paralyzing yourself while they're quietly building something that makes your model obsolete. So the question isn't who's my biggest competitor right now, which is one where I think so many people look at. The question instead is who could be my biggest competitor? Here's how I think you can work through this. Okay. Step one, I think you've got to define what type of business threatens you. So let's take real estate, for example. In real estate, the threat isn't another top producer at a competing brokerage. That's same game competition. You can likely handle that. The real threat is a different type of operator entirely. Think about the well-funded, tech-forward company. Maybe the one that's paying agents a salary or eliminating the anxiety consumers have around commission, or the one that's spending millions on lead generation so their agents never have to prospect. In other words, their agents just show up and execute. Or think about the large team that's systematized every part of their client experience, or they've automated follow up, or they have extraordinary transaction coordination services. They have this marketing machine so that any agent on their team delivers a more consistent experience than the average solo agent that's just having a good year. Or maybe it's the iBuyer, which I know they're still trying to find their way in this world, or the institutional player, the one who's frankly looking to remove the agent from the equation altogether. Now, these are three completely different threats, and they require three completely different responses. So, first, let's get specific. What type of operator, if they came into your market fully resourced and fully focused, could take significant business from you? That's step one. Define what type of business threatens you. Step two, define their strategy. Once you've identified the type, map out how they could win. Are they winning on price? Maybe it's lower rates, discount model. Are they winning on convenience? Maybe it's less friction or faster transactions. Are they winning on volume? Maybe just so much more market presence and brand recognition. See, understanding their strategy tells you where you're exposed. Because wherever they're winning, that's a gap in your own offering. So going back to real estate, a common strategic threat right now is the team that wins on speed and systems. They respond faster, or they follow up for a longer period of time, or they deliver a more predictable experience. The solo agent with great relationships but inconsistent in their systems, they lose clients. Not because they're less talented, but because they're just less reliable. So again, step 2, define their strategy, your competition strategy. Step 3, identify what they're doing that you're not. Identify what they're doing that you're not. I think this is where it gets really honest. This is where you got to look in the mirror. Maybe they're investing in technology you've been putting off. Maybe they're hiring for roles that you think you can't afford yet. Maybe they're building a brand on social media while you're still focused, on referrals only. Maybe they're capturing and nurturing sales leads at a scale you're not even attempting. This reminds me of all people, Michael Dell. Michael Dell has talked about this exact exercise for quite a long time. The exercise being, asking the question, who is most likely to put you out of business? And then using that answer to drive internal urgency within his company. Internal urgency within that company. He used this kind of thinking to stay ahead of all the disruption in his industry, an industry that's completely transformed multiple times. See, the point here isn't to scare yourself. The point's to use the imaginary competitor as a mirror. What are they doing that you're not willing to do yet? What are they prioritizing that you've been comfortable ignoring? Because if you don't build it, someone else will. And then they'll take your clients with it. Now, step 4, and here's the final step. Find the weakness that they don't have that you do. Find the weakness they don't have that you do. This is the flip side of the exercise. This is where it becomes actionable for you. Your most dangerous competitor, whoever they are, has weaknesses too. The tech forward brokerage, for example, might be lacking in relationships. The high volume team might be lacking in personal attention. The discount model might lack, service. Where you can be the antidote to what they're missing, that's your lane. That's where you have to double down. So going back to real estate as the example, if the threat is the systematized high volume team, your advantage might be deeper client relationships or the hyper local expertise. So you can't outsystem them, but you can outrelationship them. So know what they can't easily replicate and make sure your clients feel it every single time. So here's the full framework, okay? The 4 questions. Write these down. Number 1, what type of business can put me out of business? Not who's the biggest today, who could disrupt me tomorrow? Number 2, what's their strategy? How do they win? And where does that expose me? Number 3, what are they doing that I'm not? Where am I behind? What have I been avoiding? And then number 4, what weakness do they not have that I do? Where is my real defensible advantage? Now run this exercise for yourself. And I think you should continue to run this exercise, call it every 6 months, and treat it seriously. Because I think the businesses that tend to get disrupted are almost never surprised by the technology or the trend. They're surprised by how fast it arrives and how unprepared they were. So block some time this week. Have no interruptions. Maybe it's just thinking time. Sit down and answer those 4 questions for your business. Write it all out. Be honest. Don't just think about it, but actually put it down on paper. And then identify the one thing your imaginary competitor is doing that you should be doing. And then decide this week whether you're going to do it or not. That's it. Spend an hour, 4 questions, and just make some decisions. That's all I have for you today, the No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.